Hey, welcome back to Professional Caregiving. I'm Catherine. I've been a caregiver for more than 10 years now, working with people with special needs, infants, toddlers, adults, typically developing people. I take care of people for a living, so I'm going to do something a little different today and show you what I keep in my work bag because I love watching videos of people unpacking their bags for various things, what they take places with them. I find it really, really interesting. So if you're curious, stick around and I'll show you what I keep in my bag. So I think first and foremost, like the number one thing that I try to do at work is make sure that I'm okay. I take care of myself. So I wash my hands a ton. So I always have a lotion of some kind with me because my hands get really, really dry and cracked. And when you have cracks in your hands, bacteria gets in. We don't want that. So one thing to keep in mind is I always have something with little or no scent that is baby safe because often I'm working with infants, and right now I have an infant full time. So actual baby lotion, you'd be surprised, comes in really handy. So I always have one or the other of those in my bag. In the same vein, I always have like a really old Ziploc bag full of first aid supplies. And what I mean by that is primarily bandaids, because you always have to keep any cuts in your hands, any cuts in your skin covered. You do not want bacteria in there. And right now, my client is completely non-mobile, but when I do have mobile clients, I do not carry medicine with me at all. But right now, my client is completely non-mobile, so I keep a couple different things, just a little bit of allergy medicine and a little bit of Tylenol. And the key is really just only carry that one dose. Because worst case scenario, getting into one dose is better than getting into several. Lip balm. This Vaseline Advanced Healing, I never do this, but this Vaseline Advanced Healing stuff is great for cracked hands too. If you forget your lotion one day, just slap that and a Band-Aid on and you're set. So the next category is kind of documentation supplies. So I always keep some extra paper just for me and my own stuff. I never like to be without it, but I also keep some scissors because sometimes it's hard to find scissors in people's houses. Some Post-it notes, they're not necessary. It's just stuff that I like to have with me. Lots of pens, that is necessary. My phone charger. Part of documentation for me is interacting with parents over the phone, so it's really important that my phone is charged at all times. I always, no matter what the family's documentation requirements are, keep my own records of what I do. I think that's really, really important, and I can do a whole different video on that and how I organize this, but I always have like a regular planner. This is by far the most beautiful planner I've ever had. Usually they're like $8 and from Amazon, and they're black. Just to keep all of that up to date. I always have a book. This time it's this one, but just pop into the library and grab a book. I really try not to be on my phone at work because I do attend college classes a couple days a week during my work day. And so families get really tired of seeing me in front of a computer. So I try to stay with books and not on my phone or a tablet or something. Personally, for me, I sweat all day long. I'm lifting people, I'm bathing children, I'm running outside. I always carry deodorant. You never want to be stinking up somebody's house. It's not good. Another thing, I generally have keys to at least one house or another, somebody's home. I always have to have my keys with me. You never, ever want to get locked out with a client. Do not make that mistake. Always have your keys. My wallet, similar to the keys, if you provide any kind of transportation services, you need your license with you. But on top of that, you need your license or an ID of some kind, because if you need to get medical care for your person, your client, you are going to have to prove who you are, and you're going to have to show some kind of ID. So that's really important. Another self-care item are snacks. Hangry caregivers are not good caregivers, right? Like, nobody is nice when they're hungry. And when you're shaky and you're tired and you're having trouble staying awake, some snacks that I really like to keep. Right now, my client and this family do not have nut allergies. This would be a completely different snack if I was working with a family who had nut allergies, and I have worked with families who do have nut allergies in the past. They're great snacks. You just want something that is lightweight, high impact, and is relatively shelf stable. You don't want to be like carrying a bunch of apples in your backpack. So I just keep little packets of almond butter right now in my bag, and they do me so much good. They're not super cheap. I wish they were cheaper, but they're really important. Also, what I don't have in my bag right now, but I usually have that is very important to me, are those little Mio-style energy squeezes. The reason those are important is because some days you have a lot of adrenaline, there's a lot going on at work. Some days I find it drags. There's not a lot to do. It's really quiet. Maybe your client's napping, maybe your client's at a doctor's appointment, maybe whatever it is. Sometimes there are lulls and you get sleepy. Sleepy means mistakes, and we don't do mistakes here. So a little squeeze of some energy juice in your water, and that makes a huge difference for me and my work. I have not always carried extra clothes with me, but caring for an infant, there's just a lot more stuff. So it depends on your client, you know, and it depends on how hands-on you are. But right now, I always have an extra shirt with me, and I always have extra underwear. I do not carry extra pants, though I probably should. They take up a lot of space, but I find if something's gonna get dirty or stinky, it's gonna be my shirt or my underwear. So I really try to always have an extra one of either of those things. And you can work through the day with kind of wet shirt, or you've just kind of like wiped spit up off and you get used to it. But anytime you can take a little bit of discomfort away, right? You feel more like yourself, you feel more taken care of. So it's just good to have. And then I also have lots of masks. I don't know why I carry so many masks. I have lots of different kinds, but I never want to be without one, because when PT, OT, speech language pathology come to the house, they often want you in a mask. And so that's important. The other thing about carrying a mask is if your client needs to be rushed to the emergency room, or if you need to transport your client to some kind of medical appointment, by and large, you're going to need a mask. So I always keep a bunch of them. I obviously have like no hair, but I used to have lots of hair. And so another thing, if you do have a lot of hair, is just don't forget bobby pins or hair clips, hair ties, scrunchies, whatever is in there. And I keep looking down because I'm checking my list to make sure I have everything, because I'm going back to work, fingers crossed, when my client returns from the hospital. And so I want to make sure I'm all packed and ready. So phone charger, bandaids, lip balm, lotion, snacks. Basically, that's it. I also have a little backpack sweater that's in the wash right now, getting ready to go back into my backpack, which I call it my backpack sweater. It folds up really small, smaller even than my little ball of underwear, and it is really light, but just warm enough that a cold house doesn't matter quite as much. and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space, so I don't have to think about having it. So that's what I keep in my backpack. The backpack itself, any backpack will do. Things with lots of pockets work, but keys, I keep other supplies in here. The thing about your first aid kit, if you are going to carry one, even if your client is non-mobile, I try to keep any of those pieces under as many zippers as possible, so make it as difficult as possible to get into. So, several zippers in if you're not carrying it in a locked pouch. Better safe than sorry. You do not want that to happen. Other things, I also, as a person who bleeds every month, I keep tampons and things like that, even when I'm not bleeding, because you just never know. One of the most important things to me is to make sure that I am in tip-top shape so that my client can be in tip-top shape. If that's not happening, if I'm having a really bad day, it's hard to do great caregiving. So my backpack is really important to me. I also carry a water bottle. I carry my lunch, but these are the things that help me get through my days and be the best support for these families that I can. So that's what I keep with me. Let me know if you're interested in hearing more about my personal documentation and how I present that to families and what my procedures are and what the inside of my planner looks like. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much for spending time with me here.